Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
Every part of comics and artwork is a form of communication with other people. It's not just here, let me direct my thoughts at you as a dictation of concept, but it's hoping to convince you of how cool you think a visual could be or a story could be. And you're trying to communicate ideas in one part storytelling and greater part just graphic impact. You're hoping to relate a sense of energy, urgency, and enthusiasm to people. That there's a lightning of spirit that comes out of superheroes that has always worked for me. That it isn't really about the practicality of what they might do. It's not the practicality about grown men punching each other in costumes. It really isn't about that. It's a visual metaphor. And that metaphor could be for a lot of things, but it's mostly just about the energy and enthusiasm that can be found in the fun of life.
Welcome back, everybody. Time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. Happy to welcome Jason Inman back to Word Balloon. Good to see you, Jason.
Good to see you as well, sir. It's been a while. And by the way, I got to say, listening to Alex Ross at the beginning of this show every time is just like inspired. Like anytime I'm in a bad mood, I've never met Alex in real life, but like hearing him talk about comic books and what they mean and art just immediately inspires me. So thank you for that intro.
Oh, no, Jesus. Thank you, Alex Ross, for being a good sponsor of Word Balloon. He's going to have a big year. He's got a lot of cool projects.
When does he not have a big year? Let's be honest about that.
You're really right, though. You are having already a big year here in 2022 in terms of another successful Kickstarter, your seventh. And it's
Yes.
issue 2 of Super Best Friend.
Yeah.
Fantastic, man. Very cool. I'm glad the story's continuing. I'm glad you're seeing the support. You're already at your goal. You're well over your goal, but you still have 3 weeks left to promote and gather more people.
Yeah, I'm super happy that Super Best Friend issue 2 was, it's my fastest funded Kickstarter campaign yet. And, it's always one of those where you put single issues out on Kickstarter, right? You put it out to the audience, just like a YouTube video, just like a podcast, and you hope they take the bite. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. And I was super happy when they did it for issue 1, and I'm super ecstatic that they did it for issue 2. So now I'm going to get to complete the miniseries, which is so amazing because I love working with George Cambadais, who's the artist, and Taylor Esposito and Brittany Matter and the whole team, man. So I'm very, very jazzed about it.
That's cool. Is George a Greek guy? I might have asked you that.
Yeah, he lives in Greece. Fun fact, when I was recording the video for the Kickstarter last year, I reached out to him and I said, hey, we've only, talked virtually. I need you to say your name out loud for me because I want to make sure that I never screw it up. And so he sent me a clip, and that was like kind of the first conversation we ever had, really, which was kind of cool.
No, our Greek names can be challenging. Absolutely, man.
Yes.
I don't know what kind of number they did to my grandfather at Ellis Island because I have family members who spell it Sountres because the Greek pronunciation is Suntries. So I don't know where the hell the I came from, but
See, that's exciting. See, my name was always just boring. It just had an extra N in it. It was Innman. But it's always been Inman. So I don't know. I'm kind of jealous of that. Well, I mean, I'm not jealous that these immigration officers basically ruined your family name, but like I'm jealous that you have a really cool last name.
No, I hear you, man. It's hilarious. For people who don't know, Super Best Friend is the story of Kind of a modern Jimmy Olsen
That's
for the
correct.
21st century. Give us remind people of the 10-cent pitch on Super Best Friend.
Well, Super Best Friend it's a great way to describe it. It's about Maddie Moore, who is the live streamer best friend to the world's greatest superhero. Yeah, think Jimmy Olsen, but with a YouTube channel or a Twitch channel. And his YouTube
Yeah.
and his Twitch channel are about superheroes. And in issue 1, he accidentally live streamed the secret identity of his best friend, Captain Terrific, to the entire world. So the entire world now knows that his best friend is named Calvin Coleman. And issue 2 is all about Maddie trying to repair their friendship and trying to put the genie back in the bottle, which is a lot harder than it seems because one of the twists of the story now is that Captain Terrific Calvin Coleman basically is like, well, my secret identity is out there. I'm done. I'm out.
Quit.
It's time to call it. It's time to call it. And because my family can't be safe, my girlfriend can't be safe, nobody's safe, and I'm never going to do that to somebody again. And a lot of this issue is Maddie trying to have to convince his best friend to stay the superhero course. And it's a lot of fun. Like issue 1 was, I always say like, it's the top of the souffle. It's like you meet the supervillains, you meet the world, you meet the girlfriend, and then like issue 2 this is where we're diving deep into. There's a hard traveling road trip in the second issue. There is, cybernetic doppelgangers. There's even a reference to one of the silliest, but yet one of my most beloved stories of Superman lore, Superman Red, Superman Blue. I had to wink to that. Making, for me, comic books have always been about fun. They've always been about enjoyment. And I really chase that in the stories, and I chase that with the books, and I put that on the Kickstarter campaign, and I even put that in the tiers. And the big one about this time was chasing that fun led me to email the man that got me into comic books, Mr. Dan Jurgens, because without reading his Death of Superman, I would not be making comic books right now. And so I emailed him, and I said, hey, would you want to do a cover for this? And he said, yes. He luckily didn't slap me away immediately, even though we've met at convention. He's a lovely man. He's a very lovely man. So like I've got to cross a bucket list item off of my comic book, to-do list is that now Dan Jurgens has drawn one of my characters.
I don't know if you're able to show the image, Jason. I didn't have a chance to
grab
Dan's variant cover.
Hold on a second. I can get it there. Give me
Cool.
let me open a window.
And as you're doing that, I will talk and say I share your love of Dan Jurgens. He's one of my favorites. I got a couple of years on you, so I was, I think, reading him a few years before you were, and going back to when Booster Girl first hit the scene. And I'm glad to say that he's become a good acquaintance. We even it was Terrificon last summer in Connecticut. We were at the airport and we were picked up. There it is. I'm gonna put it up in a second.
Throw it in there.
We were able to hang out. And we were both at the airport and driving to the casino, so we had a nice, kind of hour-long conversation in the limo and stuff. So there it is, everybody. Look at that. That's the Dan Jurgens variant.
Yeah, and it's got inks by John Livesey, who's also like an inking legend, and it's colored by Elizabeth Kramer. It was funny when I sent the email to Dan. He kind of said, "Do you have any ideas?" And this is based on that old Superman cover where Lois is writing him but wearing a wedding dress.
Of course.
Except I said, like, can you replace Lois but put Maddie there and then put him on Captain Terrific? And I think it makes for a very, like, I know it looks like he's riding Captain Terrific like a horse. He kind of is. But I don't know. Again, this book, I want to lean into Silver Age energy. So, like, to me, that like, this cover is amazing. And I bought the original art from Dan of this cover as well. So I have the pencils.
That's outstanding. That's so great. No, it's gorgeous. And again, it doesn't surprise me because Dan is truly one of the great nice guys in comics.
Oh yeah, he's a legend. I mean, just think about it. Like, there's not a single character, I think, on either side that I don't think he's drawn at this point.
Not only that, I think he's one of those creators that even outside the superhero realm, he's such a great storyteller. He's capable of doing any genre. And that's a rare thing, I think, these days. I really appreciate Dan. And also, I will admit, I'm several years younger than Dan, but close enough that as that ageism kind of worry kind of creeps in life and stuff. I'm just so glad that, especially right now, he's at DC, that they appreciate the value of him and they still give him really exciting projects to do. And he's and I wonder. I always ask him. In fact, even this summer, I'm like, you got to have a creator-owned idea, dude.
I say the same thing. In the emails I've had with him as well, I'm like, you have got to have a creator-owned book. And I think he has some thoughts. It'll be interesting to see where he fires the trigger. It's so funny you're talking about DC. Did you see the recent cover he did, or that's going to be released for the Death of Justice League event they're going to do?
No, I haven't. Is that the 75th issue? Is that big?
Yeah, so it's like sort of inspired by this old poster that came out during the Death of Superman, where it like shows the coffin of Superman in the DC universe. So,
Yes.
Fun fact: a couple weeks ago, I was going through my closet, and
Found the poster.
I found it. Remember these old folded posters, man? This
course.
is drawn by Dan Jurgens, and they put
Yes.
it in like, I don't remember what issue they put it in, but
Yeah.
look at this thing. Like this is the original poster. They don't do this in comics anymore, and I'm so jealous.
I hear you, man. Look at it. I love Hal with the great temples.
Oh yeah, I mean, look! Darkseid's in the poster for some reason.
Well, he can show respect, absolutely.
Yeah.
Monel, look at that, right dead center.
Yeah, this is like
Guardian.
I say, this is the poster that kind of made me first realize that the DC universe was a universe. Because I didn't think it was. Like Batman was in his own movie, Superman was in his own movie, and that was my exposure to them. And then, seeing that, I was like, who are all these people?
It was so funny. I always remember this. In suburban Chicago, one of the stores that I would regularly go to, certainly Superman 75, that was amazing, buying that issue, and just literally the line out the store of people waiting to buy, and people that probably hadn't ever been in a comic shop but heard the news and wanted to get the issue. But then a few months later, because of course we know the story continued with Funeral for a Friend, and you saw the Justice League react, you saw everybody else react, and then that last issue before the reign of the Superman, when they took 6 months or 4 months, whatever it was, off, and it ends with Jonathan Gavin having the heart attack. And it's
because it's like Adventures of Superman, like 400 or 500 or something like that, where he like is going through the spirit world and he sees Clark, and then the end of that is all the four of the Reign characters.
But literally, I believe, and maybe it was in the rather than Adventures or Action, maybe it was in just the regular Superman title. I just know the heart attack issue, happens. He's in the cornfields in Kansas, and Martha screams Jonathan, and that's the end. And it's like, wait a minute. And I'm like, so what's the next issue? And the store owner's like, there is no next issue. It's over after that. And I'm like, relax. I'm like, it's Superman. Good Lord. I'm like, and also, I was an adult man then. I'm like,
sure.
Okay. I'm like, if you want to tell the 12-year-olds, that's it. Fine.
But that was the part that was the time that you might have been able to convince people that they were never going to bring Superman back. Now it would never work. Like, I mean, Death of Justice League, we know that they're going to be gone for 6 months max.
Yeah.
And then they're coming right back.
No, you're right. And it's a shame because I appreciate still telling Death of stories, because then we get those great reaction moments. I always give it up to, I believe it was Hickman on Fantastic Four years later when they killed off Johnny Storm. And God, that great rooftop conversation that Spider-Man has with Franklin Richards. And he's like, I know what it's like to lose your favorite uncle. And oh God, my favorite moment was when the Thing doesn't know how to handle it, and it's Hercules, Thor, and the Hulk. And they basically let the Thing just beat the shit out of all of them in frustration and let him get his his grief out. And it ends with the Thing's face buried in the Hulk's chest, and Thor and Hercules are looking down like, no, we get it. And it's like, no, those are great moments. And yeah, Johnny's eventually going to come back, but let the writer and artist tell their story and have those kind of big moments, because they're still dramatically impactful, even though all right, in 6 months they'll be back.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder. It's true. It's you got to miss these things once in a while. They've got to
Yeah.
go away. I mean, look at Star Wars. Star Wars
Yeah.
was not around for 20 years, and everybody was jonesing for the prequels. Then the prequels finished, and they disappeared for about another 10 years. And again, the fervor went back up again.
You're right.
And now we have too much Star Wars, and I kind of think we're getting close to the point where people's attention span for Star Wars is just like another Star Wars. Yeah, I don't care, whatever.
We'll see. I mean, we'll see. Back to Super Best Friend, and again, this is your 7th Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed your video.
Thanks, man.
And absolutely, you spell out how great Kickstarter is for these kind of stories, and I totally agree. And again, not just the superhero genre, but all stories. But this is your opportunity to tell a fun superhero story without having to tell a get a green light from a publisher and everything. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's the advantage, man, right now is that Kickstarter comics can take chances that traditionally published comics, even for Image, even for IDW, can't really take those chances. Because, like, once you figure out what that number is as a creator, as long as you hit that number, it doesn't matter. Like, you're not beholden to sales figures or bookstore numbers or anything. It's like, well, how long is it going to be? 18 issues? Cool. If the audience is there for every Kickstarter, go for it. If they're not, well, then it's not going to be 18 issues. But it allows you to connect with an audience a little bit more directly, because when I do my Kickstarter, I know lots of people use fulfillment companies and whatever. I mean, I pack all my Kickstarters myself, and that's why I do the fun thing of, like, I always buy on eBay like a full set of just fun, wacky trading cards. And then when I pack every one of them, I actually learned this from Jimmy Palmiotti, who was great, because when they pack all of theirs, and I remember him saying once, I believe on a Word Balloon, where he said that he loves to pack all the Kickstarters because when he sees a name he recognizes, he'll throw something extra or he'll write them a note. And I do the same thing. Like, I give everybody a trading card, but, like, I've started recognizing names, and I'll write you a note personally just to be like, hey, this is like the second or third one, and I really appreciate it because and I think that helps you really connect with the reader a lot more. Like, they'll love the story a bit more, they'll take a chance, hopefully that also engenders some goodwill, because if I do something even crazier and outside the box, maybe they'll come with me because right. I drew him a smiley face one day.
No, you're one of those guys that has learned how to build community in the most positive way. And I agree with you. Jimmy is like one of the best Kickstarter gurus out there.
Oh, yeah.
And that's always my kind of question when I'm talking to people who are dealing with either their first Kickstarter or subsequent ones. And Jimmy always has great things. I mean, my favorite free tip that he gives, and he's right, is buy your post office lunch.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like catalog day, as Newman used to complain being a postman. It's true, man. I mean, no, you're really putting this extra burden on your local post office, sending out all your stuff. So be a sport, tell them thank you, and buy them lunch, and they will appreciate it just as much as you putting trading cards in for the people that supported your Kickstarter.
Yeah.
You gotta take care of the people that are helping you out, man. And I think Jimmy gets it. And God, Jimmy's got to be on 30 Kickstarters. God only knows. The next time I talk to him,
he's probably way up there. I kind of also love too that he's been pushing a little bit harder on Twitter about, like, really leaning into paper films, because they do such great stuff. So I really, I'm like, go for it. Him and Joe Quesada started Marvel Knights. Like, they did Event Comics before that. Like, if anybody knows how to run a publishing house in sort of a crowdfunding world and make it work and make it succeed, it's definitely Jimmy Palmiotti.
And also, truly, and I say this as a fan of what he does, Jimmy likes to do R-rated comics. Justin Gray, his writing partner in paper films, also likes to do that. And Amanda's cool. Amanda Connor. I mean, all these people that he gets, Frank Thierry, and it's like, okay, I understand that there might be a little pushback on when I say exploitive, I don't mean in a degrading way, but the kind of exploitation stories that Jimmy and I grew up with in the 70s, where there's nudity, there's excessive violence. We like that. And by the way, it's not only women, it is men as well, as far as the explicit nudity. Great, fine. And he doesn't have to, do a dance for Marvel or DC. God, we saw when Batman Damned happened at the start of Black Label.
Oh, yeah.
Push back on Lee Bermejo and Azzarello for showing Bruce's crank. And
I still to this day wish they would have just committed to it. It's like, it's one of these things where if you're going to show Batman's utility pole, just show it. Just lean. You did it for Dr. Manhattan.
Well, again, but honestly, Jason, the 80s were a different time.
That's fair. That's fair.
Hey, Marv Wolfman and I did a panel in Salt Lake City, and we talked about the Judas Contract, and we talked about, God, now I'm blanking.
Like Tara
and Destro's relationship. And hey, man, that's like a Lolita thing. She was underage, and they were having sex, and it's like, and really, Marv's just like, I read Lolita. Lolita came out 20 years before I did the story. Nabokov did it in a Pulitzer Prize-winning piece of literature. Yeah, it wasn't a big deal. There's no way in hell Marvel or DC would ever condone that kind of story, and that's fine. That more, social mores change. It's okay, but give us a space where you can tell dirty comics. Hey, man, I'll tell you, and truthfully, it's very politically incorrect in the way they depict people of color. But one of my favorite, I'm blanking on everybody's names. The guy that drew Power Girl back in the 70s, Wally Wood. Wally Wood has a great series that's this action adventure soldier of fortune in South Asia, a comic book called Cannon that ran in an army magazine. And it's blood-curdling action, and there's a lot of nudity. And again, I think, unfortunately, from a language standpoint, it wouldn't stand the test of time. But just from a general story standpoint, it's like, hey, I don't mind R-rated comics. I'm okay with R-rated comics, and I think there needs to be a place for them. Kickstarter is a place where the audience knows what they're getting. Nobody has to get out of hand because it's not going to sit in a store. It really is back to the basics of Kickstarter. It's the creator and the audience. Do you want this? If you want this, back this, you will get it.
Yep, and that's where I announce my next stretch goal is R-rated Super Best Friend. No, I'm joking. Super Best Friend After Dark.
And then he's out there like shooting everything. That's great.
No, it would be like Austin Powers, except like everywhere Matty walked, the phone would cover his bits, or he'd walk right behind a plant, or
there'd be a big phone,
or it'd be like a superhero fight, and there'd be like a fist, and then like he's right behind the fist.
That's hilarious. That's fantastic, man. So this is great. Again, you've got 3 weeks left.
That's the greatest thing. Like the anybody that runs a Kickstarter, the special kind of anxiety you have until you fund. And then when you fund, it goes away. It lessens. So it's great. And that's why I say to everybody, we're like, hey, now just consider it to be a pre-order page. That's all it is. Because now you're going to get the book no matter what. So it's just a pre-order page. Get that 44-page comic. But also then the special anxiety becomes, because there's always slowdowns in every Kickstarter. And, it ebbs and flows. It happens everything. And then when you get to the slow days and you're just like, why does nobody like my book? And you have to keep reminding yourself, well, I've already funded. Plenty of people like the book. It's fine. Just relax. But then, your head, you sort of like, nobody donated today. What's wrong with this?
Well, hopefully people watching might be and listening might be so inclined. Again, your love of Silver Age superhero action comes through, and it's a fun book. I mean, right now, I know we just spent the last 10 minutes talking about R-rated comics. This is an all ages comic.
Hey, they're together. No, this is it's not technically an all age comic. It's actually, I would put this on, I would say it's a PG comic, but there's nothing in it. There's no phones covering up bits, parts, but I would say it's a little bit more adult than like Jupiter Jet or Science, some of our other books. Just in terms of like the violence. Like in Jupiter Jet, we were very intentional to try not to like have the violence go out of hand, and this is typical superhero stuff where it's like there are some fists coming out and some people are getting punched in the face and knocked out of buildings and explosions.
Fair enough. That's
You know.
cool. Now, again, your love of Superman and stuff, and obviously Death of Superman. That's very John Byrne era and Jurgens and Ordway and people like that. Were you also, because you say Silver Age too, and that could either mean Julie Schwartz or Mort Weisinger and stuff. Were you a when it comes to a Superman fan, do you have a favorite editor prior to the Byrne, Ordway, Jurgens era?
Ooh, I mean, to be honest with you, it's hard not to say Martin Pascoe for this answer.
Oh, that's great.
Because he has so many great ideas. And I mean, and not only was he just a great writer, just we mentioned this off air, but like I got to interview him a little bit before he passed away, and our whole conversation literally was about Superman.
Sure.
And because of that, I went back and read all his stuff and some of his. He wrote the Legion, right? Am I remembering that right?
No, Marty didn't write the Legion,
Didn't he write the
unless
Legion?
I'm
No.
misremembering, but he did. I mean, he was the lead Superman writer after Elliot Maggin and Cary Bates.
Yes.
Marty was the consistently monthly in and out and created amazing villains. I'm a big Master Jailer fan. I think that's a great
Oh yeah.
that he created in particular. I was very happy that during Supergirl they used several of his characters and he was getting money for that, which was great.
Oh, that's good. That is really good. So yeah, like I don't know. It's like one of those where like you kind of almost think every Superman run like the Legion shows up. So I'm certain I'm misremembering that somehow.
They probably guest starred. I'm sure they guest starred during his run. I have no doubt of that.
But he just had like such a pure idea of what Superman was, and that was like that was a pretty big inspiration for me for my Superman analog, Captain Terrific, because I think it's a problem like all writers sort of come up with is how do you make a Superman analog like Hyperion and Homelander different? And you've got to choose something that's a little bit stretched or exaggerated, that's different from Superman. And for Captain Terrific, I was very inspired by Marty, and I kind of laid into it a little bit more that Captain Terrific is like so afraid that people will get hurt. So he will keep his friends and his superhero teammates out of fights to protect them. And like that's going to be the big lesson that he's learned. And that's the whole reason why this story is from a sidekick's view, is that like a big lesson that he's going to have to learn in this story is that he basically is going to have to let his sidekick help him.
I hear you, man. The other strength is, and obviously you play into this, having Maddie be the central character. It was always, and the strength of Superman and the strength of Batman and the Flash and Spider-Man is their chorus, their Greek chorus around them, all those supporting characters. And that was why, especially during Marty's run on Superman, it wasn't the Planet, it was the GBS newsroom when Clark was a TV reporter. But you had a joke where Steve Lombard would try to screw with Clark, and Clark would be able to, turn the tables on Steve, or great conversations with Perry and Jimmy and Lois. And the Greek, like I said, to describe them, the Greek chorus mattered. It's why Foggy is such a great character next to Matt Murdock and Daredevil and stuff. They need someone to talk to. And even in the case of Foggy, and certainly modern day Lois, and Brian Bendis has taken the mask off, so everybody knows now. But it really was always those intense conversations of one of the citizens to be able to go to the superhero and say, you're doing it wrong. And then Maddie, obviously in issue 2, gets to have those intense conversations with Captain Terrific.
It's funny you brought up Foggy Nelson, because a lot of people have asked me, like, what is sort of the inspiration for Maddie? And I always kind of say it's kind of almost more Foggy Nelson than it is Jimmy Olsen, because Foggy... I do really believe that Matt Murdock and Foggy Nelson kind of have the best friendship in comic books, in superhero comic books anyways.
Yeah.
And I went back and I looked at a lot of the Silver Age stories between the two of them, just to kind of see how they interacted with each other. Because like Jimmy Olsen is not as proactive as Foggy is. Like Foggy's very proactive, and that's really what I wanted to steal from Maddie, or imbibe into Maddie.
I understand that absolutely. Well, and again, he's in a more intimate level of friendship than Jimmy was allowed to be up until, like I said,
Very recently.
Brian got ditched the Kent identity, and now and I loved how it's Jimmy, I'm Superman. It's like it's like, no, Jimmy, I am Superman. Yeah, I know, or I'm Clark Kent, and it's like
it's like no duh. Yeah, I gotcha.
And it's great. It's just kind of great that Jimmy's like, yeah, all right. I mean, I loved Good Lord Fraction and Steve.
Oh yeah, Steve Lieber's run. It's great.
Lieber. Thank you,
Yep.
Steve Lieber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, their Jimmy Olsen run was just terrific. So
yeah, it's fantastic.
No, very cool, man. I think that's wonderful. I give you credit. I think that's really neat. So I have to save time for us to talk a bit about my favorite subject with you.
Yes,
Star Trek. So,
of course.
Hey, you know something, Jason?
I'm showing to the camera right now. I have a comm badge.
Oh, nice! Outstanding. There you go.
It's
comm badge. Boom.
Oh, so here it goes. It's always on my desk. In fact, there's another Star Trek ship right up there too.
Oh, stand by.
That's I like the design of the NX-01, so I have one up right there on the shelf.
Hey, man, I have 3 Eagle Moss ships. Everyone,
Mm-hmm.
Eagle Moss is the company that not only do they make the obvious ships, they must have over 100 ships because, especially like if you think of shows like Deep Space Nine, where they had the big intergalactic wars,
mm-hmm.
and you saw so many different Federation ships. Eagle Moss is like, oh, that one that only showed for 5 seconds? All right, we're going to make a model of that.
Yeah, we're going to do all of them. Yeah.
My favorite, I have 3 ships. I have the Defiant from Deep Space Nine.
I have that one too.
I have the Delta Flyer from Voyager.
Ooh, good design.
Because I love that design.
Mm-hmm.
And then for my one shot, I think it was called the Prometheus. It's the episode of Voyager where they send the Doctor through the data stream to a Federation ship, and
it's the ship that splits apart.
Right, it goes into 3 ships.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now
that's a good-looking ship.
By the way, that makes sense because that's an attack thing, and this is my only negative thought on Discovery: the detachable nacelles. Explain to me why that's necessary.
Because it looks cool.
Yeah, but I mean
it's fine.
But all right, but let me move on to the positives.
Sure.
First of all,
okay,
they just wrapped up Prodigy.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Prodigy had a great first season. It is exactly what they said it was going to be. It's Star Trek 101 for kids to, all right, what's the Federation? What does it all mean? And I think they do a great job of that. But I also think they told very clever stories that incorporated fan service, gave us some nice member berries that we could all enjoy. But it was just a fun show. So I'm really, and I'm very relieved because 2 of our favorite people in comics and television, Julie and Shauna Benson, are part of the writing team for season 1. Their episode was great that they put their name on, but just the whole season, and it was great because they haven't come on yet. They will eventually come on, and they're like, you don't like new Star Trek. Are we walking into a trap? I'm like, no. I really like Prodigy. I think it was a great first season. So, what were your thoughts on Prodigy?
I loved it. I really, really loved it. I do agree with you. It does exactly what it said it was going to do. It's show ran by the Hagmans, who I believe they did one of the Troll Hunter series and it's one of the good Troll Hunter series. So like they know their stuff. They know kids animation. They also they know how to tell a long arc. To be honest with you, I was watching this and I was getting Avatar: The Last Airbender vibes. Like I was kind of like, oh, this is like sort of Star Trek through an Avatar: The Last Airbender vibes because again, like all the main characters we meet are brand new characters. A couple of them are brand new aliens. And yes, you're actually correct. Like there is a whole episode where they have to figure out how to use the transporter. And I know for like old school Star Trek fans, like we're like, oh, we know what that is. But I thought they did a really good job of giving us fresh stuff with the characters not knowing how it works. And then, or the episode where they went into the holodeck and he did the Kobayashi Maru, I thought was hilarious. Like really clever and really funny who Absolutely. They picked.
Yes.
And
I think good Forrest Gump sort of using old dialogue.
Yes.
in a new way, and it was great that Gates McFadden was clearly
The new one, yeah.
on board and giving new dialogue and stuff. But no, that was great, because I do have friends that are like, well, why'd they put Odo in the Kobayashi Maru? And it's like, because it's fun. Leave him alone. That's fine. That's
actually okay. The funniest tweet I saw about Star Trek Prodigy, specifically about Odo, and it was somebody online said, Dow walks into the holodeck and says, "Give me the greatest Starfleet security officer of all time." The computer shows Odo. Then literally every Starfleet security officer on every other Star Trek is like, what the heck? He's not even in Starfleet.
Yeah, especially the pushback that he had with Starfleet over the seasons as well, of wanting to do things his way and having to kowtow to Starfleet, having a Commander Eddington and or that great coup d'etat that the one admiral wanted to do, where he was going to declare martial law.
Homefront.
Yes, Homefront.
Oh, yep, man. I know the episode titles, man. I'm that nerdy.
I know. No, it's like when I talk to Rob Burnett. Absolutely, man. No, I know who I'm talking to. It's all good. And also Julie and Shauna's two-parter that they were involved in. I love that because it was such a classic original series trope.
Mm-hmm.
Going to a planet, it very much was like a dark side of like Shore Leave, where
the bunny shows up.
What's that?
Yeah, is the Easter Bunny shows up, right? Yeah,
that's in the original Shore Leave, absolutely. But yeah, it kind of, this planet was showing them all their highest desires or whatever, and it turns out that it was very malevolent, which, by the way, showed me that it was a slightly older than a Y7 animated show, because it got pretty dark. I mean, God, those cute little things that were crawling all over rock, and then all of a sudden you realize they're actually like eating her flesh. Mm-hmm. It's like, whoa, that's pretty dark, man, for a 7-year-old. I don't know if that's right for a 7-year-old.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, when you think about it, Walt Disney once showed children that Bambi's mom got shot in the opening of that movie. So, you know something that I really liked, and it was something I noticed. Did you notice that the 2-part finale said written by the entire staff? Which I loved that. One, because I was like, oh, they decided that the 2-part finale was such an important episode that everybody had to contribute. And then also they gave everybody their due, because a lot of times, in television, your name could be on a script and your showrunner could have completely rewritten all of your dialogue, all of your moments out of the script.
Absolutely.
So not a single word of your script could be in this episode, and you get the credit for bad or for good. That's why I don't like Twitter like going after writers of episodes, because I'm like, well, you don't know if that writer actually wrote that episode or not.
I'm with you.
The thing I love about these credits is that I'm like, okay, this is awesome, and this shows why the Hagmans are just such good dudes and great showrunners, is because they gave credit to their entire crew for that finale. And that finale, the 2-parter, I thought was stellar.
I thought it was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. I thought it was great. Good action, good adventure. I had to convince one of my buddies that does, when we do regular Star Trek review shows, to watch Prodigy, because he's like, I don't want a Teletubbies kind of Star Trek show. And I'm like, no, man, it's not that. It's a lot smarter than that. And I will even say, because no show starts off perfect. I did think that it took 3 episodes for the story to really kick in. Because even, I really thought the first 3, it's like, all right, set up. Really, it was like, again, 4 and 5, that was that 2-parter, where all of a sudden now they were really doing something, and it was a much more involved story. But I like the characters. I love the Medusan. I'm so glad they brought.
Oh yeah, Zero,
yeah, because in fact I had been meaning to rewatch the 3rd season episode with the Medusan, that Diane Muldaur.
Are they only in 1 episode?
Yes.
Interesting. I thought they were in more than that. That's so funny. There's so many like glowing beans on original TOS. It's hard not to confuse them.
Beauty? I want to make sure that I name check that one.
Yeah. There's 5 points in your nerd trek. There you go.
But no, I think that's great, and I love the way they use Zero in the finale. I won't spoil if people haven't up yet. God, we've got Discovery coming back tomorrow as we're recording this.
Oh, is it that soon?
Yeah.
Oh man, there's just
Well,
too much content. There's
and
too much.
Picard. Well, I'm really amazed. I guess obviously Picard is coming in March, and then
Strange New
I
Worlds is June.
right. And
Hmm.
is it June? Because as I understand it, the day that the last Picard episode airs, the first air, at least that was the schedule that I understood, unless things have changed. The first episode of Strange New Worlds is also going to drop that same day that the final Picard episode drops.
Oh, see, I don't know about that. I just was going off that poster they released, and I thought it said June.
Oh, maybe
So
they pushed it back because I
you
also
might be right. I could be completely wrong about this.
well, but I am bummed that the Orville, speaking of June, got pushed back to June because although I love what they
That
put out,
teaser they released for the Orville though looks like that to me, and I think it was very smart of Seth MacFarlane and their crew to release that trailer because I thought that trailer said, "We know we've been away a while. We know we've been delayed. We know that moving to Hulu probably worried a bunch of you, but like have no doubts. Now we're gonna knock your socks off." Like I
yeah,
saw that and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna come back in a big bad way."
I
Um, and
absolutely agree.
and I don't know if that's the final season. If the third season they basically said that's it, it kind of
I
seems like it. I hope not.
yeah, but I kind of hope that the response will make them want to do more
Yeah,
because
I hope so as well.
did you get a chance to watch? Because I know you're a busy guy too,
Hmm.
much more busy than I am. Um, on the History Channel, they had a show called The Center Seat: 55 Years of Star Trek, and it was made by one of my favorite people in TV right now, and that's Brian Volk Weiss, who made The Toys That Made Us and the movies
Mm.
that made us for Netflix, and several other TV shows, A Toy Store Near You, lots of really great shows. I can't remember the name of the show that he did with The Rock on Disney Plus about all the Imaginarium event rides and everything.
No,
But
I've not seen. Was it good? Did you like it?
it's fantastic. It's such
Okay.
a deep dive. And the History Channel bought the series. They only showed 4 episodes on the History Channel proper. You needed to get the History Channel streaming network. I know. I
What?
had
Come
the same
on.
business, and I totally hear you. To get an additional 5 episodes, and then also interviewing Brian, I discovered that he made 16 episodes. That's how deep this is. And I
Wow.
don't know
What's
if
it
they're
called again, John?
Center Seat, 55 Years of Star Trek. And also, in addition to the TV show, he did an after show audio podcast with 2 other co hosts. And you don't need to watch the show to get the after show and appreciate the after show because he does these amazing deep dive interviews with
Wow.
Zahn from Phase 2. And Brandon Braga was on for like 2 hours. And when Braga was on, they couldn't help but talk about the Orville for about 15
Because
minutes.
yeah, he's working on it. Yeah.
Right. And he's like, I know I'm on the show. And it's, of course, everybody tells you how great the show they're working on is. But we really took advantage of that extra time to make these new episodes of the Orville as great as they can be. And again, based on that teaser that we got, it's like, yeah, I think he's probably right. And again, there are so many Star Trek veterans on that show. David Goodman is another one.
Hmm.
I mean,
I think
they
Mike Sussman is also on the Orville as
wouldn't.
well.
I believe you're right.
Yeah.
Another
Hmm.
great Star Trek writer. Absolutely. They get it. And that show. I mean, because I think that first season was clunky. The
Yes,
second season, my God, it really they upped their game.
I
And,
agree.
I'm very excited for this third season. If it's the last season, hey man, 3 seasons, well done. That's terrific. They can drop the mic and walk away.
Well, I
Very
mean, you got to give mad credit to Seth MacFarlane for creating basically his fan fiction show, and in some respects, it is the equal of the thing that he is making fan fiction of. Like in a lot, like to me, there's episodes of the Orville that I felt you could like easily drop into the Star Trek franchise, and like if you just changed it from I can't remember, is it the Union? You change it from the Union to
right.
the Federation. I don't think
Sure.
you wouldn't, nothing in the episode would change. It would
No.
feel like a Star Trek episode.
Absolutely.
You
No,
know.
and very clever single episodes. And again, forgive me, but compared to the live action new Trek we've gotten, I just think the Orville eats its lunch every time. Every time. Sorry, I do. That's me
Well,
saying this.
well, I'll tell you what. You want to talk about, like, since we're diving into Orville, where did you fall down on Lower Decks? Because the reason why I ask you this is because I thought that Star Trek Lower Decks earlier this year, or no, last year, I think. Last year, excuse me. Last year, I think, released the best episode of Star Trek that has been made in many years. The one where they were showing it from the perspective of the other crews. And you got to see the lower decks and the Vulcans, the lower decks of the Borg, the lower decks of the Klingons, and the lower. To me, I was like, that is like the best Star Trek episode I've seen in a long time.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I found the first season of Lower Decks frustrating in the same way that I find Discovery frustrating, in that Mariner, the lead character, is very much like Michael Burnham and the best of the best and whatever, but also with kind of a Sergeant Bilko attitude of, I don't want to be here. I don't want to work. Yeah, I know, man. I know, but
that's truly a reference.
and yeah, I don't. Have you ever watched the original?
Yeah.
I'm glad, man, because truly older friends do get it. And I'm like, this is Sergeant Bilko in the Federation. Yep. She doesn't want to work. She doesn't, and it's like, the thing that frustrates me as a Star Trek fan is, well, we all would love to work in the Federation and Starfleet. And that's why it's like, this sucks. And it's like, I don't know what your problem is, lady, because we'd all love to be there, even, stacking shit or whatever the Lower Deck guys have to do. But in the second season, they gave their other supporting characters more agency.
Mm-hmm.
And more to do, and also that they were the solution sometimes. And there was even one episode, I don't even remember which one, where they were on a planet, and in that classic Rick and Morty way, whatever was happening in the front, as far as dialogue, in the background, the much more interesting shit was going on. And Mariner was getting the shit kicked out of her by some giant alien monster that was literally like pounding her on the ground and just beating the hell out of her. And I'm like, okay, now you get it, because I don't mind that she has that attitude as long as the others get balanced, because frankly, I find them more interesting. I think Rutherford, Tendi, and Boimler are much more interesting characters, other than, as they keep doing with her, I do what I want. And I'm like, all right, whatever. But it's so antithetical to Star Trek and to the Federation and team building. And what I think makes Star Trek great is, the crew. We're all in this together, and we all do our small part, and we support each other.
It's funny, I'll say this as the person that is on your podcast promoting a superhero book. I almost feel that might be problematic of just the superhero wave of media, because when you think about it, even every Avengers movie basically revolves around one person, one or two people. And it is interesting that modern Star Trek has sort of chosen that as a storytelling method, and maybe they're choosing that because that's everything that's what's making billions of dollars. But you are right, that is like very antithetical to like what Star Trek is, because Star Trek is about, it's the ensemble show, it's the anthology show, it's the, it's like, you never know, every week you turn it on, you were like, am I going to get a Quark, am I going to get a Bashir, am I going to get Janeway, am I going to get Riker, who knows? I don't know. It could be a Western, could be a comedy, could be a sci-fi, could be scary, I don't know, it could be musical. I don't think they didn't do music, but they did episodes where they sang. But like, it's mark my words, by the way, I think we're going to get a Star Trek musical within the next 5 years too.
Oh, oh my God. Filking is the phrase for sci-fi parody songs. And it started with Star Trek, man. Back in the 70s and stuff, when they were enjoying the reruns of the original series. So no, it wouldn't surprise me, but it again, and I will even say, in fairness, what we've seen this year in Discovery is more of a lean towards a problem of the week, even though there's the big overarching story of the anomaly they're dealing with, the DMA or whatever the hell they call it. I'm sorry, again, I gotta pick on them, because they go to the Admiral. There's an anomaly, sir. Well, what is it? Well, we just told you it's an anomaly, sir. I don't know how, now they didn't do that in the show, but it's like, well, what is it? And I'm like, Admiral.
Well, I will. It's funny. So like, if you want to do a turnabout play, or a turnabout intruder, as some would say,
if you will.
In the old show, especially in TNG, because every once in a while, I'll turn on Pluto TV and I'll go
Sure.
to the Star Trek channel and just see what TNG episode is on.
Sure.
There are so many episodes of TNG that I've watched recently where Picard is busy. He is doing something. He is filling out a report. He is sleeping, and he'll get the comm badge thing of like, Picard here, and they're just like, Captain, you need to see this immediately. And he's just like, can't you tell me what it is before I get out of bed? No, they never tell him. They always like be like, you have to come here because, television.
Sure. Well, of course. But it just, again, when they say it's an anomaly, well, what is it? It's like,
yeah,
well, no, we don't know. It's an anomaly.
That's why we classified it as an anomaly, sir.
Exactly. And I love the Admiral on Discovery.
I haven't seen the new. I know the Admiral is that gentleman from The Mummy.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's amazing. He's great. No, and again, I do. I mean, they're more away missions. They even, although I think they could have done a better job, there was a great kind of, let's have a political debate about how to deal with the anomaly, and not just with the Federation, but with, obviously Navarre is kind of the half Vulcan, half Romulan planet is negotiating with the Federation, and Earth is outside of the Federation, which bothers me, but whatever. That's fine. I don't believe. I don't.
It won't be out there. It won't be out of there for long. I guarantee it.
Whatever. I'm sure. Good Lord. I mean, we're gonna have season 5. We'll see what they do in season 5.
How many seasons of Discovery do you like? If you were a betting man, how many seasons do you think we'll get?
I don't know. That's a really good question.
Because we know we're getting 5.
I would imagine that I guess it would depend unless they keep renewing contracts year by year.
That's fair.
The old thing was, hey, we're in for 7 years
because that was syndication.
Numbers support it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Enterprise did make it. Yeah.
Right. It landed in the 4th season, but I mean, I don't know what the business model is. I would hope that they would move on to other things, because again, I believe that there's still a good portion of old school Trek fans that would jump on a different show and don't like what they're doing on Discovery. I look forward to Picard. I hope for the best. I had my problems with the first season, but I mean, there was still. I mean, I'm happy to see Patrick Stewart, and would love to follow Picard's story. No matter what, I'm kind of in that same camp of, well, he's a robot now, and that doesn't really kind of work for me. I certainly hope Q will snap his fingers and he'll be human again before it's all said and done. And I know that they say that Delancey's going to be in that 3rd season as well.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I heard that. So we'll see. I mean, and then also, God, Gates is out there, McFadden. It's like, God, like, could she please be part of this in some way?
Well, she was part of Prodigy.
That's right. Of course. Well, and by the way, back to that Center Seat TV show, she was the narrator, which was fantastic on that.
Interesting. Okay,
series, which is she was great. She did a great job.
That's funny.
But I honestly, Jason, I would say, if you're able to listen to other podcasts,
I followed it right as we were talking. Like I went right to my Spotify and was like, "But bing, there, I got it in." So thank you for
absolutely.
I love listening to one. Not only do I think he's just a great writer, I love listening to Brannon Braga talk about Star Trek nowadays because he has enough distance that he just lets everything fly. Like my favorite story that I've heard him tell is about that in the 2nd or 3rd season where the UPN network executives came to him and said, "We want to put a band on the show."
The boy band.
Yes, and he's like, "Where do you want to put it?" And they're like, "Well, you have a stage, right?" And he's like, "Do you mean the mess hall? Like, you want us to put a band in the mess hall of the starship? Well, where did they come from?"
He gets into during Enterprise that they were negotiating with Shatner.
I've heard that.
To be Mirror Universe Kirk.
Yeah.
And that was the way he was going to return, was that he wouldn't be our Captain Kirk. He'd be Mirror Universe Captain Kirk. That was a great idea. I'm sorry.
I'm kind of glad that didn't happen because the Enterprise Mirror episode 2-parters are fantastic. They're really good.
Right down to the different intro.
Yes.
Where they played the more serious kind of music and we had the totalitarian history. I hope, especially given the direction that season 2 of Picard is going, where Q changes things and suddenly they're in a totalitarian world. It would be great if they reference, I mean, this is, well, I guess that was Mirror Universe instead, but it's too bad because it's I loved what they did with that. That was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And all those different choices. And it's a shame because Enterprise's 4th season was so great.
Yes.
And
yes.
And by the way, they talked to Manny Koto, the showrunner.
Yes, the showrunner of season 4.
On that podcast that I'm directing you to. Brian Volk-Weiss, first of all, the name of his company is the Nacelle Company. So that should tell you everything you need to know.
All right, that's cool.
I mean, and every time I've talked to him, he's in a room surrounded by his toys, like you're surrounded by your comics and original art.
Yep.
And everything. And, I mean, it is so easy for Brian to go, yeah, here's an Enterprise, here's a Delta Flyer or whatever. He loves Star Trek. Dude, they pay real respect and love to the original animated series. And you get a deep dive.
Which is basically in canon as far as I'm concerned.
I totally...
To me, I think that is the 4th season.
Yes. Yesteryear is
Mm-hmm.
one of the best Star Trek episodes where they go through the Guardian, they time travel, and Spock saves.
Now, the one where they meet Satan the Devil, that one I don't think is in continuity. I'm going to throw that one out.
They talk about that episode because, again, there's a Saturday morning TV show, and it's like, hey, the devil is misunderstood. He's just an alien that got a bad label. And it's like,
it's very that Chariot of the Gods theme, like that was big in the 60s and 70s, and basically the Stargate built their whole franchise around.
100%.
They're like, even Satan was alien from Gloop Glop 7.
Get that past the children's censors today. Good luck. And that's what I mean, man. Oh my God. Or even the creation of Robert, or the appearance, because it was an original Roddenberry idea.
Robert April.
The last episode, Robert April, absolutely, the first captain. Oh my God. And I would love, by the way, I would love that. I'm hearing that perhaps one of the ideas in development is something that I've wanted them to do ever since Enterprise went off the air, and that was make an anthology show that would give us the opportunity to look at the various eras of Trek. And great, have a Captain Archer story, have a Kira Nerys story, have a Quark story,
and it would be perfect for streaming because the length and the number of seasons doesn't matter. So if you can only get Scott Bakula for 2 weeks, then great, it's a 2-hour movie.
Sure,
easy. You just shoot it like 2 episodes of television. It's a 2-hour movie. Easy peasy. We never, and then you literally could just fill up the catalog of their content and make it all exclusive to Paramount Plus.
I totally agree. With the time we have left, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about the Oscar nominations that came out. I'm so glad. I always panic. I've been fortunate to become a Screen Actors Guild member because my last radio job required that I join the union. I was happy to do it.
You get all the screeners.
I get all the SAG screeners. Yes. So, I mean, I know Writers Guild and Director Guilds get even more screeners than we do.
I get them all because of my wife, Ashley Victoria Robinson. So
how is that? I asked you earlier.
She's lovely. She's great. She's actually at a rehearsal right now as we speak for her next play. Where
oh, that's great.
I don't know if I can spoil, but she's playing like a Greek goddess character.
Oh, so, fantastic.
I don't know if that's I think that might be a spoiler for the play, so I don't. I'll just yeah.
There's certainly a lot of. I mean, as we were learning in Kelly Sue DeConnick and Phil Jimenez's wonderful Black Label Wonder Woman Historia Black Label book and stuff.
That was great. That was a great book.
Oh my God, they're gonna come back in a week or two to finish their creator commentary. They really
wow,
go page by page and everything.
So have you seen most of the things that are nominated? I've seen most of them except for a couple exceptions.
I'm still catching up, and that's why I'm glad I've got my screeners.
Okay.
So tell me your early instincts, and I'll see if I agree or not.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. This is like one of the first years in a long time that I kind of think everything that should have been nominated for Best Picture got the nom. To be honest with you, it's funny, and I've thought this since I saw the movie. I was lucky enough to I got to go to a screening of Power of the Dog, I think in October of last year, and we only went because Benedict Cumberbatch was there, and so was Jane Champion. So we wanted to go see them. And the minute I saw that movie, I was like, that should be Best Picture, but I don't know if they'll nominate it. And so when I saw the nomination, so to me, and other people can disagree, I don't know if the movie's too weird, but like, to me, I think Power of the Dog should get it. Should win Best
If
Picture.
not, I hope Campion gets
Yes.
Best Director, and that's a great achievement. And again, I appreciate that the Academy is sensitive to more women, more people of color, certainly more. I'm really glad that other countries' films are being recognized much more, and it's not just Best Foreign Film, which I always
Yes.
thought was a great category and award. But it's like, hey man, it's an international world. And
Drive My
streaming
Car
is
looks
much bigger
fantastic.
than that.
I
What's that?
haven't seen it. Drive My Car looks fantastic. I haven't seen it yet, but it's like the next one up.
Very cool. Yeah,
Is there anyone
I'll
that
admit,
stands out to you that like you think were like, what do you think? Who do you, if you were to put your money out there, who do you think is getting Best Picture?
well, I mean, honestly, I think, as you said, Campion's movie is great, but I also think that Del Toro with
Oh,
Nightmare
am I saying her name wrong? Is it Campion?
it might be Champion or Campion. I could
Oh,
be
I'm
saying
sorry.
it wrong.
I could be.
I don't know. I don't know.
Apologies, Jane.
And
I
maybe
think you're going to win Best Director. I'm sorry.
well, and again, another possibility for both Best Director and Best Picture. I think Nightmare Alley was exceptional, and
Nightmare Alley was really good. Might be Bradley Cooper's best film.
and I think he's kind of the ringer
Yep.
that's going to probably get Best Actor.
It's funny. Another movie that I think in another year would have been the easy winner of Best Picture, and that's, have you seen Belfast?
I have not. Tell me.
I think it's far and away Kenneth Branagh's best film, but it's very much a slice of life family movie. So it has like scenes with the grandmother and the grandfather, scenes with, the father and the mother having like sort of domestic issues, and like, he's away for work too much and the boy's growing up, and it's just, the background is like the Irish Troubles and all that stuff because it's set in 1960. But I think it might be too safe and simple compared to the other movies that it's nominated against. Like, compared to Nightmare Alley, Belfast feels like a movie made in the 90s.
I hear you, and I understand. I gotta say, last year, and obviously the pandemic really did a job on what was released. While I appreciated a lot of the nominations, I felt there were films that were a little too out of touch with the average film goer.
Yeah.
And that was a shame. I think that has been rectified with the output that came out for this season.
Yeah,
So,
looking at the nominations for this year, or last year, excuse me, I immediately was like, oh, we had 2021 was a good year for movies in terms of like what was released.
Yeah.
I mean, Coda's really good as well. I don't think it has a chance to win, but it's a really good movie. I enjoyed King Richard even, and I'm usually not a fan of biopics.
I did too. Yeah.
No,
it'll be interesting. Yeah, I do think that, again, as we crawl out of COVID, thank God. Again, I think the landscape got broader again. I do think that, again, and it's interesting, especially always during Oscar time, you and especially here on a genre fiction based podcast and stuff, we love the Marvel movies. We love the good DC movies. Sorry,
yes,
DC. You're getting better. And by the way, Peacemaker's a great.
Peacemaker was good.
Oh my God. I'm so glad James Gunn was so involved in the spin-off show, because it really did follow the flavor of the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm really relieved and happy for John Ostrander in particular, because I love John. John's a great guy, and he deserved a better movie than the Hater movie. However, it was chopped up and whatever. This is a much better movie, and Peacekeeper is much better, even though Peacekeeper had nothing to do with the original Suicide Squad from the comics. But anyway, we love the Marvel movies. We love the DC movies. I would imagine you feel the same way, that you can't deny that what used to play as mainstream entertainment in theaters has moved to either streamers or other platforms for people to find them, and are not getting the theater-going film audience the way the Marvel and other genre fiction movies are.
Oh no, 100%, man. I mean, well, when your whole economic model for streamers, right, is to you have to get the subscriber. So you're more likely to spend more money to, just like Netflix did with Power of the Dog, or I mean, Coda is a. I'm gonna look at these. Coda is an Apple movie. Dune was, I mean, it had the simultaneous cast with HBO Max. So
Nightmare
did
Alley, West Side Story.
King Richard did as well. Like, so like that's the sad thing about it is that like they're not going to release the big superhero movies onto streaming because they don't want to lose that box office, but they could look at a movie like Nightmare Alley and say, well, Nightmare Alley, a Guillermo del Toro film, the box office, who knows, is a coin toss, but it could get like 10 people to give us that $4.99 a month to come over to HBO Max.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know. It's kind of sad, right? Because it is going to make movie theaters kind of like going to, like a Broadway play. Like you're only going to go when the big one drops. You're not going to just go for any other play down the week. Whereas like, I mean, that was the weird thing. Like AMC Stubs, there's all these programs, right, where people would just go to the movies every week and just see everything, and they'd probably see every one of these movies on the list.
I was one of those people. Yeah,
that's not going to happen now because you can watch them out at home.
No, and it is. It's nice sitting here and watching great films and stuff. And I have some idiot on their phone
like that too.
or talking or whatever. I mean, I can't deny that. And also it's going to be interesting to see which of the streamer produced films are finally going to get some hardware. I kind of thought that The Irishman was going to start that. I know Manchester by the Sea was an Amazon movie, for example, and that was kind of that first step forward.
There was the Beast of No Nation was a Netflix early one too.
Yep.
Which Idris Elba, by the way, should have been nominated for Best Actor for that movie.
I agree with you, and I agree with Casey too. Your comparison to what's happening in movie theaters with Broadway is very apt. I totally agree. It's going to be interesting to see how things shake out. Again, I watch the business as much as I do the content, and as a broadcaster, we're involved in the mix as well. I am absolutely like, okay, what's next, and how is this all going to kind of settle from a business standpoint?
Yeah, it's funny in terms of, and I hate calling it content. I actually I want to call it art. Because content is a product and art is subjective, But we're kind of in the wild west of digital art right now when it comes to like movies and TV shows and even NFTs. Nobody knows what it's going to... I think everybody's kind of looking at like, what is it going to be like in 2025? And nobody has the answer for that. Because
100%.
I think between now and 2025, I think some streamers are going to drop. And they're going to drop hard.
I was expecting it, frankly, earlier. And I mean, my God, there's even more out there now than there was when I thought we were at an oversaturation point. It reminds me of 2013 when there were so many comic book movies out, like The Wolverine and Scott Pilgrim and all that. And everyone was like, wow, people aren't going to these the way they were a minute ago. Maybe we hit the saturation point. I was convinced we were not there yet, because I keep likening comic book movies to the Western genre.
They are the Western. It's funny you bring that up. That they are exactly right, the Western. And I saw somebody recently at the beginning of 2022 say that they think where we are in the superhero trend is the 1970 trend of Western. So by that trend, I was like, oh, we have about 10 years. And then they're once in a while again.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I also believe, is they're not going to go away. They might recede back a little bit, but no, I think they're here to stay. And obviously, and even more so, that just like especially I would go back to the 50s in terms of it's a new way to tell mythological stories. The Western was our American heritage mythology, and now the superhero film has replaced it for being our American mythology. And I think that's great. I think there are still opportunities to tell stories within the superhero genre. You can tell heist films. I mean, they've already done it. You can tell comedies like Deadpool. You can tell heist movies like Ant-Man. All of that is there for any idea and putting it in the shell of a superhero movie. I do find it interesting, the various filmmakers that are crying about it, because it's like, hey, you can still make your movies. You just might have to do it on streamers. And I don't see a problem with that. I really don't.
I don't either. And I think the perfect example anybody would say is go look at Joel Cohen and what he did with the tragedy of Macbeth, because that movie is fantastic. It's beautiful. It is so well shot, and the acting is next level. And it's a streamer. It's a streaming movie. That movie is fantastic, and I highly recommend it. Like, that movie is like filmmaking. Like, what they do with set design in that movie is mind-blowing.
Oh, that's so funny. ChemDog wonders what the Silverado of superhero movies will be. I think the Avenger movies have been very Silverado-esque. I
was almost going to say Peacemaker.
And that's fine, too. I honestly, I guess maybe, ChemDog, what you're saying is, too, Silverado being kind of the comeback of Westerns as it was in the 80s.
Oh, sir. Yeah, maybe. Interesting.
And David asks, as an old radio guy, what do I think about, and I want to hear Jason's thoughts as well, about Audible's productions with full-scale casts like Sandman. Reminds me of listening to tapes from the Library of the Shadow or Superman versus the Klan. Totally, David. And in fact, this week on the audio show, I released my conversation with William Meyer. That was about a week ago. And William makes full cast audio dramas with sound effects and stuff. I'm a massive fan of
the Sandman show is great.
Yeah.
And I love. Have you listened to the Wolverine podcast that Ben Percy wrote?
Yes.
It's so good, really good.
No, and I know that there are DC shows in the works. I am 100% behind this. Hey, you're right. I'm an old audio guy. I absolutely am. And in fact, as we know, and I want to show an image that I showed Jason earlier.
Please.
This is not the final logo, but in addition to Word Balloon, I am working on this very Monkeys documentary series. And I started this before Mr. Nesmith passed away, but that's the title. We Got Something to Say, and it's going to be a deep dive into the Monkeys. And that's the power. Audio can do everything that video can do, and do it on a shoestring budget. And in fact, we can even go further, because it's the imagination hearing these things that allows to go big scale if we need to.
It just shows you that all audio is cyclical, right? Because here we are approaching the 2030s, and podcasts are one of the biggest things out there, and they're basically radio.
You are so right. No, you're right, man. And truly, I mean, we're under 10 years before the 100 years of radio, audio, drama, and humor and stuff. And you're right, we're coming right back to it with guns blazing, and that's very exciting. And also, much like what you're doing with Kickstarter and Super Best Friend, there are opportunities for not only Audible but individuals like William Meyer and myself to play in this playground and do what we want to do. And A, nobody can stop us, and B, we can be as creative as our imaginations take us. So I'm very excited about this being an additional product that we're going to do for
and
for
anyone out there that works for WME or Rolling Stone or even Guitar Center, please reach out to John's business idea, and please sponsor this show, because I know John and I know his quality, and I know I'm freaking looking excited to this. Paige Gail Simone, the ultimate Monkeys fan. You've already told her, I bet.
Well, I've asked her, and I don't mind putting up David's comment that I got to get her. I totally agree, and unfortunately, she's kind of busy right now. I hope to get her, because it's going to take a while to get it done. But I do have some really exciting people that worked with the Monkeys, and I really, it's great now, because everything they were shit on in the 60s, it's like, well, how are the Monkeys different from your favorite K-pop band or the boy bands of the 90s and the early 2000s, the Spice Girls, Backstreet Boys, the Jonas Brothers, all of that stuff, and they're talented artists. it's now they're getting their due. And also just the bitter irony of the Monkey story that they mid-career are like, we want to write our own songs. We want to play the instruments.
And their songs were good.
They're great, but they weren't commercially viable the way the bubblegum stuff was. What are you going to do? I mean, and also the hipster critics wouldn't pay attention to them. I think a lot of their stuff after their first 2 albums, which I love, by the way, I love the bubblegum stuff, but Headquarters till the end, there's a lot of interesting songs. In fact, we mentioned Oscar's songs, and I didn't even realize it, but my buddy Matthew Klickstein pointed out that Lady Bird used, and Greta Gerwig used, one of the great weird monkey songs from the soundtrack of their film Head as the through line for the trailer and for the film as well. And
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's right. And it really, as Matthew said too, people are like, "Oh my God, what is that song?" And it's like, it's the Monkees. I don't know how to be it, but it's the Monkees. So, that's funny.
The Monkees are fantastic. I'm very excited. I'm the movie's head. I'm very excited for this podcast. We got to get you the sponsor that you deserve, good sir.
Thanks, buddy. Well, I certainly hope so. And David gives a shout out, of course, to the Geek History Lesson. What's coming up on your podcast, man? What's going on?
It's so funny. David's a longtime listener. I appreciate that, David. On Geek History Lesson, we just did fun. We released an episode on Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur.
Oh,
accidentally on the same day they announced the series, or when it was going to hit Disney. It was just weird timing on that. We got a Moon Knight episode coming up. We also have a really fun episode, which is going over what we think are the best Catwoman stories with Isaac Goodhart, who drew that YA Catwoman story. Very great DC Comics artist.
No, that's great. That's great. Fantastic, man. Yay. And all right, Casey agrees. So
all right, Casey. But I mean, how long have you been doing Word Balloon now?
It'll be 17 years, May 10th.
17 years. Wow. See, we just crossed our 8th year. And to me, just even 8 years are just like, what the?
I hear you, man.
How many episodes do you know your episode count too?
You know, when I moved the RSS feed to Spreaker, they doubled up on some episodes, and I keep slowly paring down,
deleting here and there.
Yeah, because it's got me at like 1,500. I'm like, no, that's not right. I mean, it is 1,500.
Whoa.
But yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, man, I love it. I acknowledge my anniversary every year. That said, the only thing that is keeping me from not doing it is my own interest in the show. I mean, I just show up. So it's thankfully creators are always happy to come on. So that's great, and it makes it that much easier. Oh, thank you, Casey. Casey congratulates me. That's very nice.
No, it is awesome, man. 17 years, man. It's the same thing for us at Geek History Lesson. I say this so the people showing up here that are also Geek History Lesson fans, because I would assume we have a lot of crossover.
I would imagine.
Because you being the great all-time comic book podcast, we're just following your footsteps, man. So every time I see a fan say like, "Oh my God, I love this episode," or that's where I'm like, "Okay, yeah, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going."
Yeah, no, I agree. And then truly, I never feel because there are some podcasters out there that are very territorial and competition and stuff, and it's like get over yourself.
Yeah,
man. And my analogy I always make. Back when there were magazines. I know that magazines are a dying
Entertainment Weekly was canceled today. That's going to timestamp this episode.
I didn't know. Wow.
Did you not hear that? Yeah, they announced that they're going to stop printing Entertainment Weekly.
Well, again, back in the day when there were magazine racks everywhere, I'm like, there's Time Magazine, there's Newsweek, there's U.S. News and World Report. And if you're a newshound, you're reading all three of them. And I really believe that podcasts are much like
magazines.
You can't stop at one. And I mean, binge watching obviously is a thing. Binge listening is a thing. And
I agree with that.
love Star Trek. I am constantly looking for great Star Trek conversation. So I enjoy Mark Altman's show. I'm bummed the Center Seat Brian Volk-Weiss podcast. It's only 10 episodes that revolve around the episodes that are on the History Channel and streaming.
Can I give you a Star Trek podcast recommendation?
Please.
Do you listen to Enterprising Incidents?
No, tell me. Is
Okay,
that
you should listen to Enterprising Incidents with Scott Mantz and
Sure.
what's his co-host? He's the co-host of the Cinephiles, Steve Morris.
Okay.
They they're going through TOS, and they do it a little bit more to where they do talk about the episode and they sort of review it, but they spend like the first half hour going into like the production and who wrote what and rewrites and which actor was on set the most this week and stuff like that. And so they give you a lot of that before they actually talk about the story. It's
That's great.
excellent and it's fascinating.
One more time, the title?
It's called Enterprising Incidents.
Enterprising Incidents. And no, Scott Mantz, I love when he does the Vegas convention and also when he's been on a guest star on Altman's show or other shows as well. So
fun weird thing, I might be going to Star Trek Las Vegas this year. It might be my first convention since the pandemic.
I
Weird.
understand.
It just way things have worked out, and this is because of Ashley's been co-hosting the Star Trek Prodigy podcast for Roddenberry, and they have said, they were like, hey, like they do a thing at Vegas, and we might, fingers crossed, things might happen.
That's awesome.
So
here, a couple more monkey thoughts. Chemdog, the Davy Jones, Tony Basil dance number is his favorite. I agree. That's really the great thing about Head is don't go if you've not seen the movie Head. You're not going to see a narrative film. You're going to see a series of sketches that are completely unrelated to each other than the fact that Rafelson was at the same time deconstructing the monkeys, and the band was totally in on it.
So no story, all vibes is what you're saying.
Yes, truly. It's a very trippy, psychedelic movie, especially in moments. And there are a couple moments that drag a little longer than they need to be. But what's great is Rafelson thought, all right, this might be the only time I'm going to be able to direct a movie. So I want to show that I could do various genres of films within it. And the dance number between Davy Jones and Tony Basil Mickey, oh, Mickey, you're so fine. 15 years before that song, if not 20 years before that song. And it's this great, elaborate kind of Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers dance number. And they keep flipping back and forth with Davy being in a white tuxedo, and then he's in a black tuxedo. And it has this kind of weird strobe effect. I don't know why, but it does. And it's great. Again, maybe to show this kind of visual trick and stuff. But again, this monkey story is very, very vast. That's right.
Somebody please snip that out. This monkey story is very, very vast. That should go in your trailer.
Oh, it really is in terms of, because again, Schneider and Rafelson took the monkey money and all they did was produce some of the most important early 70s new Hollywood films, starting with Easy Rider, Last Picture Show, King of Marvin Gardens, so many 5 Easy Pieces that Rafelson directed, and he also directed Marvin Gardens. It's a really big story, and even Mike Nesmith himself said the monkeys are bigger than the 4 musicians. It really is 8 or 9 people, and you've got to include Rafelson and Schneider. You have to include the great comedy writer and director Paul Mazursky, who wrote the pilot, James Frawley, who gave the monkeys their improvisational comedic style for the TV series,
which is what I remember more about the monkeys. More so, like their later greater music is excellent, but like I remember them just being like really funny comedic improv geniuses.
Yeah, no, you're right, and I mean that's the thing. Frawley was a Second City veteran working here in Chicago and stuff, and real. I mean, they knew what they. I mean, as we have Mickey saying, and Mickey said it a million times, the Monkees was not a band; it was a TV show about a struggling band who became a band because of the popularity of the TV show. And as he said, quoting Nesmith, he goes, it was like if Pinocchio became a real boy or if Leonard Nimoy became a real Vulcan. And he's right. And that's why it's such a fascinating story, not only what happened during the 2 years of the show, but what happened afterwards to their revival, to thank God their second to last album, Good Times, from 2015, is a great Monkees album, and it really I mean, and they had the guy who passed away that was the songwriter and lead of Fountains of Wayne, and Noel Gallagher and Paul Weller wrote a song, and Andy Partridge of XTC wrote a song, and the guy from Death Cab for Cutie. All these great modern pop people who love the Monkees worked with them and gave them good material. And it's like, yeah, these guys are, I mean, and that's why I believe, especially after poor Nesmith passed away, they're going to get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's going to be too late for them to, other than Mickey. But I have a feeling that there's no doubt that
they'll get in this year.
I hope so. And they deserve it.
Well, your podcast will pave the way.
Yeah, maybe
you could. Maybe Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a good sponsor for that podcast.
Dude, I need you selling for me. So.
I just want you to get the accolades you deserve, man. No, and the paycheck.
No, and ChemDog, great. All the things that ChemDog is talking about are absolutely covered. We have Bobby Hart. We have an interview with Bobby Hart of Boyce and Hart, who wrote the Monkees theme, who wrote Last Train to Clarksville, and Valerie, a lot of their big songs, and also can explain that Brill Building era of songwriting for the Monkees that Don Kirshner and company represent. We even have Neil Sedaka talking about the Brill Building and writing songs. So no, it's a great. I'm very excited about this, obviously, and I'm talking about it more because we're getting closer to starting to release the episodes. But it's a fun project, and I'm glad you're doing fun projects too, dude. So we can wrap up if we need to wrap up. I mean, I know
I should probably bounce, so that wouldn't be a bad idea if that's okay.
Of course, no. You've been great, man, with your time. And again, we will promote that Super Best Friend issue 2, Act 2, if you will.
Yes,
is the Kickstarter campaign is up and running. There's 3 weeks to go, so there's plenty of time to jump on board. And I mean, again, from the Dan Jurgens variant cover to the great art that your Greek companion is giving you, George.
Yeah, thanks, man. Like, I'm glad you're digging it. Yeah, if anybody, it's superbestfriendcomic.com is the easy URL. We're going to be live until March 3rd. And then this Kickstarter is the only way to get that Dan Jurgens variant cover. So if anything I've said during this podcast intrigues you, enjoys you, titillates you, come over and check it out.
Absolutely, man.
It's so fun. I'm so happy about your podcast and stuff like that, man, because it's one of those where, like, I have a couple ideas for some documentary podcasts kicking around in my head too, and I'm very happy that you're putting them out there.
Well, that's the thing, man, and truly, as people were asking my opinion of audio dramas that are currently happening via podcasting, I've got those ideas as well. I really, once again, thank you, League of Word Balloon listeners, for supporting me as you do, which allows me to explore some of these other projects as well. And continue to do Word Balloon. Believe me, Word Balloon isn't stopping it at all. In fact, tomorrow we'll be talking to Susan Eisenberg, our mutual friend.
Oh, yes.
Like to bill her, the animated Amazon. We'll be back. And, that Masters of the Universe Kevin Smith series got so much ridiculous bullshit from some.
I liked it.
I loved it. And I've been meaning to have her back ever since the second half happened, so I'm really glad Susan's coming.
Well, please pass on my well wishes to her tomorrow.
Absolutely, of course I will.
I'll probably peek in. If I'm online, I'll probably see it, and I usually say hello. So,
and another adjacent podcast that we do is Kinescope every week, where we look back at the early days of live television. Jeff Parker, Gabe Hardman, and myself, and sometimes Ian Brill, sometimes William Meyer. Tomorrow, the King and I, Yul Brynner.
Yeah.
Well, Yul Brynner, alongside his movie career, was a very active television director in the late 40s and early 50s while he was getting his movie career going. And we're going to look at a 1949 episode of Studio One that he directed called The Storm with Marsha Hunt in the lead. Marsha Hunt, a great leading lady that very unfairly got blacklisted and had to spend some wilderness years. But she was able to come back and is in, it's the Next Generation episode with John Anderson, and John Anderson is the alien. It's husband and wife, and they're living on the planet, and they're the only people on the planet.
Oh, it's in the third season, but I know what one you're talking about because it's everything on the planet's dead except for this one house that they obviously shot in Malibu. I know exactly the episode. It's a good episode, actually.
It's a really good episode. John Anderson is one of those great character actors that gets forgotten, and then you see his body of work, and it's like, oh my God, this guy. I mean, the guy did Twilight Zones. He was on a Bob Newhart, and he is hilarious in a Bob Newhart episode. But Marsha Hunt was really amazing. She might, and shame on me, she might still be alive. She's one of those actresses like Olivia de Havilland, where it's like she's 100 and she's still alive. That's fantastic. But she became very philanthropic and very involved in the United Nations charity work. And it bit her in the ass in that shitty way that McCarthyism did back in the 50s, and really screwed her with her career. She made a great Angel and the Bad Man was a great movie she made with John Wayne in the 40s, but just a tremendous actress. And so in 1949 she made this episode of Studio One. It's called The Storm. Yul Brynner directed it. We'll be discussing both Marsha Hunt and Yul Brynner tomorrow night on Kinescope, very late night. But there you go. Oh, and Mario says he's still waiting for that boxing history podcast. I hear you, Mario. I agree. This monkey thing kind of fell in my lap at the beginning of last year, and it took a long time for us to clean up the audio that we have of these archival interviews. And finally, we were able to do it in the last couple of months, and that's why we're able to move forward. And I'm like, all right, everything else, push it to the side, because sadly, with Nesmith's death and also the Beatles Get Back Disney Plus thing, it's like it's in the zeitgeist right now to talk about 60s music.
Yes.
And I think the Monkey story is such a great story, and right now that's beyond word balloon. That's my big priority. So there you go.
Nice.
All right, you sat through that, Jason. You're a good man.
Dude, I will sit through any spiel you ever got. Thank you so much for having me on the show, man.
100%.
I'm a fan of yours as well, so give me the spiel. I want to hear it too.
Jason, honestly, since the moment me and Ash met and Tom King put us together and the Bensons, it only solidified our friendship. And it's been a pleasure. And truly, I'm always happy to help you guys out and promote whatever projects you have going on, whether it's Geek History Lesson or your comics. So congratulations, and keep it up.
Thank you so much, and much love to you, man. And I'm very excited for your next podcast.
Thanks, buddy. All right, everybody. Thank you. Take care. Stay safe. Stay happy. Stay healthy.